Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with
Nerdarchy Ted.
And it's time for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Are you guys looking forward for this, or are you shaking your fist with anger?
Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
Alright, so huge announcement yesterday, actually, from when we're shooting this. And I wasn't really expecting it. I mean, I don't pay that much attention over on the Paizo side of things. Pathfinder, we tend to play D&D and haven't done very much with Pathfinder. We looked at Starfinder a little bit, but apparently some folks have been expecting this for a while. You know, is the chitter chatter I've heard on the interwebs.
Well, there was a special announcement on Paizo where they were hinting about this previously, about this new upcoming edition, this whole list of this is what you can expect with the new edition. And it's been around for 10 years, and it's based off of the 3.5 engine. They felt, well, it's time.
So I think it's really weird for us. It's odd for us coming from having played through all the editions and been there for the edition wars and the huge divide that 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder was. I mean, it's like, are the cries of money grab going to begin once again? I don't know. Are people happy for the new edition? I've seen mixed things online, and I was just wondering when I first heard it without getting more information, because I watched the video from Erik Mona and Jason Bulmahn. And I was like, I don't know anything afterwards. I mean, there was a couple things, but I was like, they weren't like, we need a new edition things, like adding alchemists as a core class and goblins as a core race. And we're going to streamline some things. So it was fairly vague. And I came away from that video going, I don't think I know anything now.
It's like, well, I need to know more.
You know, they released over on Paizo.com more information. So we have more stuff to dig into. One of the things that has me really curious is they're like, it mentions the 12 classes, right? And there's 12 classes, but I'm like, if you add another one, that would be 13. So I'm considering, so it makes me wonder what they're doing with the classes, what they're going to do to streamline. Pathfinder has always been very crunchy. 3.5 has always been very crunchy. And I feel like a lot of people that play those systems, that's what they enjoy, that aspect of the game, being able to tweak and fiddle with all the pieces and bits.
Right. And, we had Stitch the Alchemist on our channel, and he talked about Pathfinder being, his game of choice. He likes that crunch. He likes, moving all these components together to assemble classes or encounters or what have you. So, there's clearly markets. There's clearly, those who love that style of gaming.
Right. So it makes me wonder, what are the areas that they're going to streamline, and where the nuances are going to come in. So I guess we took a bunch of notes.
So I think they broke the system down into 3 modes, as they call it. You've got encounter, exploration, and downtime, and these are divided by how you're segmenting your game. How are you measuring time? So if you're dealing with measuring time in seconds, well, then you're at an encounter. You're at a fight level. If you're doing exploration, it's not all about travel. You're doing things in minutes or hours. So here's where traveling, conversation, your role-playing, that's where all of that fits into. And then your downtime winds up going into when you're measuring things in number of days.
Well, and when we were talking about that section, one of the things I found really interesting was the fact that using skills for initiative, but different skills.
Depending upon how you're, pre-gaming the combat, essentially.
Yeah, depending on what's going on, what are the circumstances. One of the things, when they talked about, races are going to be now ancestries, so and that's a tweak.
That's interesting, and I think that's going to open things up to maybe more diverse, more diverse races, but more human options. I think could be a thing. And
more cultural differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that's come up before, why are all dwarves exactly the same and all elves exactly the same? And maybe in the fantasy world, the humans might have some diverse culture, but everyone else, it's they're always the same. So they might get into that. They're going to add a background component to it. I mean, for us playing 5th edition, we've seen that already. And then the interesting thing is, it seems like all those different components are going to give you bonuses to your stats, and that's going to change it. Now, we did see in Starfinder where you have all these different components that would add up to your HP total. So maybe something similar to that as well. Time will tell. One of the things that I found, I think this might actually be really cool, and even Mike Morales has talked about not being happy with the bonus action mechanic and certain things in 5e. So, so maybe Pathfinder has found the solution, and they're getting rid of actions. They're gone, right?
So in combat, you have, as opposed to a move action, a bonus action, all these other things that go together, you now have 3 actions. And you can do anything with those actions. It does open you up that if you're going to stand still, you can take 3 attacks. You are, of course, going to suffer a penalty, just like regular Pathfinder, for making multiple attacks. But you now have the option, should you so desire. Most spells, they say, are going to take 2 actions to cast. So you still have the ability to move and cast a spell, just like you've done before. But there's spells like Magic Missile that if you take more actions to cast it, you'll get more out of the spell.
And it starts as a base 1. And we don't actually know what you're going to be able to do with these actions, too. Like, you're making some assumptions.
Well, it said, like, you can move, you can attack, you can, begin something that takes multiple actions. So, like, there's some things that we know.
Yeah, but we don't know very much. I feel like that's like, there's a lot of stuff that can be done with that. A lot of interesting things. So I'm curious to see what they do. And maybe it's something we steal for our own game. I don't know. Time will tell on that. They talk about making magic items more interesting. And what that means to me is getting away from all these, like, pluses here and there and, making them more meaningful, other than, math components.
Right. They did talk about, as of right now, to stay, competitive, for lack of a better word, like, you need to have all of these different things that you're carrying on your person, magic items and ephemera. But now, like, they're trying to streamline that so that you're carrying the stuff that makes sense. But they also made a comment like, "Oh, I can't wait till you see what a +1 sword can do." So I thought that was kind of cool and interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what that +1 sword can do.
Also, they mentioned a unified skill system, proficiency bonus, where, it might just be based off of your character level. Now, instead of it, maybe more like 5e almost. So instead of having, different skills at different levels, it's just going to be like proficient or not proficient kind of deal.
Correct. And that was my takeaway from it as well, that they're streamlining that system similar to the way 5e went. And I think it's definitely better for, getting that competency and less, like, minutia in character creation.
Now, I like it, but you know what? I've had so many arguments with people that play Pathfinder that they hated the fact that you couldn't, like, be kind of skilled in something or really good at something or not be able to do something at all. Like, that was a sticking point for them.
Wow.
So, so I'm curious to see how that goes over.
Well, I mean, perhaps, given Pathfinder's typical spread of options, maybe there'll be an optional thing for skills of, hey, you don't want it like this, here's the old system, and just, get your 4 skill points a level.
Now, I guess the other thing too is if you guys want to become play testers, all the material will be released on August 2nd. You can, download it for free if you want PDFs. If you actually want physical books, you have to put a pre-order in. May 1st is the cutoff, I believe.
May 1st, yep.
And, and then you can get the physical books. And they're putting out 3 editions: soft cover, hardcover, and the deluxe with foil embossed fox leather cover and ribbon bookmark.
Now, these will be available for pre-order on Paizo.com. You have the ability to pick them up at your local flag, your local friendly gaming shop. And it's up to you as to, whether you want the PDF or the print copy, because, they said that they will not be printing another batch of these. So if you don't get it while it's gettable, you're not getting it.
Well, you also get a book full of Wayne Reynolds art as well. So, I mean, that part's really cool. You know, I guess maybe it might have some collectorability to it. I don't know. Or you can just get the downloads for free. They're also going to do a playtest adventure, Doomsday Dawn. I believe that is from Pathfinder. They're converting it over. And a flip map multi-pack as well. So those are all the things that you're going to kind of have in your toolbox in order to play test with.
Now that playtest core book, it's like 400 pages. It's everything you need to use the playtest rules to play characters level 1 through 20. So there's a lot of information that's going to be in there. So make your decision, check it out.
So now that this kind of brings us to this topic about just in general having a second edition of Pathfinder, because we came through all the edition wars. We seen the community split and divide, and the cries of money grab when fourth edition was announced, and people didn't want to go to it, and Paizo had a completely different stance in this matter because they used to do the Dungeon and the Dragon magazines, and then those magazines went digital. So they had to kind of reshuffle and reorganize and figure out what they were going to do, and they started doing adventure paths, and that's where their business model went. And then when Wizards of the Coast decided to go to fourth edition, they announced Pathfinder as a solution of, hey, if you don't want to play this other game, you want to play the game you know and love, you can just keep playing Pathfinder. And so a lot of people did. Some people stayed with third edition. Some people went to fourth edition. But it was a huge divide in the community. And so I wonder, how a lot of the old time Pathfinder people are going to feel about it. People just coming in, or this is their first RPG, they're probably not going to care that much. Oh, it's been around for a while, games upgrade or whatever. But a lot of people went to Pathfinder out of anger against Wizards of the Coast. For, oh, this is a money grab. Now we have to spend more money. Now you're going to buy more books. Now, I personally, I don't have a horse in this race. I don't really care that much because, like I said, we primarily play D&D and other RPGs. And not only that, I've always moved to the next edition of the game I'm playing, right? Which happened to be D&D. So this has never really been a bugaboo for me. I always like to see what the new thing is.
Right. Well, there's a couple different things to look at. Number one, the whole crux of the argument being, well, I don't want to spend more on books, blah, blah, blah. Those kind of people are always going to have an issue with new products coming out there. And if this is you, I'm not trying to be insulting in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, this is my perception of this type of player. They're not going to be the ones buying the books at the table, and they're happy with a rule set that's there. So be it. There are players out there who they always want the next thing, whether it be the next edition or the latest supplement. I always like new options. I always like to see what's there. I do tend to get, a grr and a shake my fist when there's a new edition because I don't like learning whole new rule sets. It's a challenge at times. Now, going to fourth, that was probably my biggest, stomp the foot movement moment because I was not in the best place financially at that time, and I was like, that's it, I'm not buying these books. When it got to fifth, we had moved away from D&D for so long that I was so excited about, oh, let's get back into playing these fantasy games. As we've said, we're not huge Pathfinder players, but to me, I'm kind of excited to see that, the Pathfinder community has kind of accepted some of what's in 5th edition and said, oh, we're going to take this here. And I think this is going to be some of the stuff that we've talked about and some of the stuff that we've heard could be a stepping stone for all role-playing games in and of itself. If Mike Merles doesn't like the action economy in 5th, well, then maybe they can take the lessons from Pathfinder 2nd edition and say, well, how can that evolve 5th edition even further? So as games evolve, people who are playing both tend to know what's going on. They tend to see, oh, well, this is what the community as a whole, not just D&D, not just Pathfinder, but all of tabletop role-playing games, all of fantasy games. This is how things can be done. This is what things are doing. How can games get lifted up?
Yeah, I like, when things evolve and get better. There is pretty much always room for that. Even talking to Mike Murrows, I'm like, well, do you play other RPGs? I'm like, are you allowed to? Because like, if you work for like a beer distributor, you can't be seen drinking another beer. And he's like, no, I have to. You have to immerse yourself in other games and other rule sets to learn and evolve. It only makes sense. So I'm excited to see a new edition, and I hope it does really well. I like, I like that the hobby is growing as a whole. So I always want to see that. And also too, part of the streamlining, I think that I've seen people bring up is the idea that streaming games has become a big deal, and the clunkier a rule set is, the more vast it is, the harder it is to stream, right? So streamers will either gravitate towards a more streamlined system, or even the folks that do stream Pathfinder, a lot of times they're already condensing it themselves in order to make it flow better for an audience watching.
So maybe Pathfinder will have that technology component, encased within their rules. We don't know. Only time will tell.
Yeah. So now we're waiting, and we'll see what happens. The question is, guys, what are you looking for? Are you excited? Are you angry? I don't know. We can talk about it, and we got a place for that. That's down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out the articles over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.